Racing to me, big question.
Sebring International Raceway welcomes both the cars and the stars of Pirelli GT4 America for a rare triple-header weekend of action here at one of North America's most storied venues. We had a washout earlier this year at NOLA Motorsports Park, and that means there's an additional race here on the docket for Pirelli GT4 America, and it comes as championship battles start to come into full focus.
Bohem and Cook aren't out of this, but the real title contenders are Zac Anderson and the 34 driver pairing.
For Bohem and Cook, as we've said a couple of times, they must finish ahead of these two.
The thought process was put together over 3 laps. I think I was behind him closely for about 3 laps, so I saw him struggling in 17, not able to get off the brakes. He didn't trust his release. So, and he was letting the car travel out and kind of push him out there because he wasn't thresholding off.
Bohem has to play defense here. Can he hang on for one more lap? Can Jesse Webb enter the equation? So much at stake.
So I noticed that 2 times in a row, and on the 3rd attempt last lap, I was like, he's gonna do it again, and I'm gonna release and just roll a little bit more speed up to his door.
But the fight for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th overall and within the silver class still very much up for grabs.
Kevin Bohem's done a brilliant job here. I think the handling on his car is not exactly in its sweet spot for these last few laps here, but he's hung on, dug deep, and he's maintained that 2nd position.
Hanley Motorsports, Parker Thompson and Dan Hanley have the lead through the final turn for the final time. Kevin Bohem trying to fend off a charge from Zac Anderson and Jesse Webb.
Anderson to the inside, they touch. Webb could take advantage as well.
Anderson is through, Webb is through. Hanley and Thompson win, but 2nd place to Zac Anderson and AutoTechnic. At the line, Kevin Bohem holds off Jesse Webb by 8 thousandths of a second for the final step of the podium.
Yeah, he decided to get into my door with his right front. Bohem has a habit of kind of running me off the road a little bit.
Nice pass, buddy. P2 at the checkers. Wow. Fuck yeah. Woo! Man, I got too fancy there for those last couple laps trying to make a run. And I think official timing has Webb behind Bohem, so that just stretched our points there. Fucking awesome, dude. Epic.
Racing is just what I'm here to do. It's all I've ever wanted to do. Started waking up at 5 in the morning when I was a little kid to watch Schumacher beat up on the McLarens in his slow Ferrari, and begged my stepdad at the time for a go-kart. Just have been absolutely fascinated by the man and machine component. I don't know, it captured my imagination in the biggest way. Karting is my foundation. Karting is what I'm still doing out there behind the wheel of these big GT cars. Karting is the purest, most authentic form of motorsports human beings have come up with. So to me, it is a direct connection to what's touching the ground, which is the tire. In a sports car, you have a lot of things in between this wheel and that ground, and that rubber touching the ground. You create mental pictures a lot quicker when you push yourself in a kart, and I have never ever stopped pursuing active training in a kart to this day. It's to me the most physical. It's to me the highest level driving. Like when you push a kart to its limit, nothing really beats the absorption rate and the calibration that a driver is executing on. You know, like you as a karter, you still have to squeeze throttle and you still have to release brakes and you still have to ask the rubber things, but they're happening at such a rate of speed in contrast to a sports car that when you train in a kart and then go to a sports car, it just is slow-mo. You know, it gives you an advantage. It's not only fun, it's super challenging. Racing's my life. It's not a want. I don't just want to do this. I need to do this, and I want to compete at the highest levels of the game. Down away from it and become a shell of myself.
The core of me revolves around the stepdad that got me into racing. And I won't go into too many details about him, but he was the best and the worst. He was the most giving and the most supportive, and then he would take it away and make you feel like the definition of a failure. It's why I want people to like me as my default. That's like why I'm a pleaser. That's my toxic trait as a human. It's just to appease this person that I just wanted support from. There was a lot of, just straight up mental and physical abuse in that. Pointed guns at us on Christmas night and gotten drunk and almost killed us, and having to sleep in the same house as that. I don't know, shame and guilt and just, trauma's a crazy thing. I was being given opportunities to race, so I wanted to make him proud and keep getting that support, and also have a father figure and all this other stuff. And he supported me in incredible ways. Karting is not a cheap sport, and he fully got me into that. But he also would, do absolutely insane things. I just got involved in some terrible groups of people. It's not that they're terrible people, they're just trying to find a little bit of comfort. But I got involved in just this, escaping. I went deep down that road, and not a lot of people know that. I went full-blown functional addict on myself. So the height of those years was 2012. 2012 is when I got my degree from UNT, and it's like I was chasing something and I got it, and then I was like, shit, what do I do now? And I got a job, but it wasn't in racing, it wasn't in motorsport. My world just kind of went from this like chasing a dream thing to then becoming very cookie cutter, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if I'm not doing things that have kind of consequences to them, then you don't really get the best out of me. And I seek other things in a lot of ways. So from 2012 to 2015, I put myself on this downward spiral trajectory of taking handfuls of pills. I 100% shouldn't be here. I should be dead, or I should be under a bridge, homeless, or and at my lowest low, thankfully I still had some great friends. The guy that truly saved me was Matt Nielsen. and he called me up and was like, "Hey, dude, I've got a job. It's a tour bus driver position on Warped Tour." I went on the road and I just left. I quit. I withdrew from all the drugs. I was clean and sober. I was around people that were, it was music, but it was this high level group of people who want to pursue these big dreams, and it just reinvigorated my why. And in those days in that summer, I constantly would like rewind the script and like, how did I get here? And like what stopped that started this? And the answer to that was racing. The answer to that was this beautiful sport. That whole summer was like my renaissance, my rebirth in a lot of ways. And that was the summer that I interviewed for Porsche and got a position at Porsche Experience Center. I left Dallas and moved to LA in my car with, I think, like $300 to my name. I slept in my car for 2 weeks, and I got random hostel rooms, sleeping with 4 dudes in like a room as big as a closet until my first paycheck came in from Porsche. And eventually this dude named John Capestro Dubets walks in.
I was in between rides looking for work and ended up working for a driving school known as PECLA, which is the Porsche Driving Experience. When I went in there, I struggled to actually make the cut because grip racing and what they were teaching there was a little bit different. Zac ended up hearing that I was a grip racer, wanted to get to know me, and kind of pulled me aside, and we ended up hopping into Porsche, and he made it about 3 corners before I knew he was legit. And I remember looking at him like that scene in Step Brothers, like, man, we're gonna be best friends. And eventually he kind of opened up to me about knowing a guy named Jason Hart, and Jason Hart played a big role in my career early on, helping mentor me and getting me positioned to make this not a hobby, but a lifestyle and a career eventually.
There was a period of time where Zac was needing a place to stay and didn't know necessarily where to go. And so he gave me a shout and said, "Hey man, I need a place to stay. You've got a house close to the college. Would you rent me a room?" And I said, "Yeah, man, come on." And at that time I had a couple of race car drivers in and out that were staying at my house. I had nothing special, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a 3-car garage, which was important because it was always full of go-karts or some sort of race car. And so yeah, Zac stayed with me for quite a while. I don't know how many years it was, but it was quite a while. And through that period of time, he saw how hard I worked, but also just the commitment that it takes to make something like being a race car driver happen when you don't have the ability to just come in and kind of pick your ride and pick your team and write the check and make it happen. You have to work your way in. And that was a neat time. We learned a lot about each other. We had a lot of fun. It was neat to spend that type of time with Zac, because he's a neat human being. He's very kind, very special. Zac will go down in history as one of 2 of the most naturally gifted, talented drivers that I've ever run into. I always thought very, very highly of Zac, even at a very young age. His level of focus and drive and consistency and capability in the kart that was just natural was pretty phenomenal. It definitely took me by surprise. He was one of the people in my life that I feel like rounded my edges a bit and taught me a lot. And I'm very thankful for the time that I spent with Zac.
So I say this all the time. I think Zac's the fastest guy I know. He never manhandles a car, he finesses a car, and he gets ultimate pace out of those cars by doing so. And I think that's a skill that's very hard to obtain. And he's mastered it, but not only mastered it for himself, he shares it with so many, and he's the best car control clinic on the planet.
He is incredibly intentional, incredibly focused. There is no cutting corners. There is a way to do it, and a variable situational component, but he's as disciplined and intentional on every single thing he does in the car that I've ever seen.
Winning this championship would definitely be the biggest thing I've done behind the wheel. It's against the best drivers, and not just saying that, the top 5 in this field, even the top 10, they are lights out for the most part. They're good drivers. They can be top 5 in a lot of different platforms that they choose to race in. So if you win in GT4 America, you're saying something, and we have consistently said something this year that I hope people are paying attention to.
Without a doubt, they've been one of the dominant pairings that we've seen here over the last couple of years. And actually, it's worth noting that the championship this year is probably more competitive than it has been in its brief history. So to see them putting the results together against really stout opposition speaks volumes about the team and the driver talent. From the very start of the season at Sonoma, it was pretty clear that they were going to be drivers that you had to go through if you were going to get a good result within your class in Pro GT4 America, and the results have just been there. Every weekend, they are right there fighting for a podium, fighting for a race win.
I mean, we were very uncertain at the beginning of the year what we were doing with our second car. We knew we wanted to have a pro pairing with 2 drivers. We knew that driver combination would be amazing. We were just really struggling to being able to make it work. Luckily, we were able to figure it out and get them in the car together.
We had this very last minute deal to kind of run together. Racing is not talent based. It's a lot of moving pieces. It's a business.
So a season costs, in raw costs, $500,000, bare bones, with no testing or anything. So the team needs to make that to keep the lights turned on, and we started to go after some other personal contributions and funders in between the rounds. But each weekend we knew that if we just got in the seat and got the opportunity to be a driver pairing, that we could do well.
We had a couple last-minute cancellations before the first event at Sonoma. We had John there, we had Zac there, who was coaching another driver, said, listen, let's just try this here and see what happens. So we put these 2 guys in together, knowing what they can do.
Fortunately, the first race, we didn't have ultimate success, but we had enough success to continue, and we knew it was the right pairing.
Going into NOLA, we had the support from AutoTechnic to continue. And it was one of those situations where we just need to figure out a way to get these guys in the car, and the team and our supporters scrambled to make it happen throughout the entire season. There wasn't at any point in the season where I felt totally confident that I would be in the next round in the seat, ever.